Love him or hate him, there's no denying that Adam Sandler knows how to entertain his fans, and Netflix couldn't be happier with the results. Since the company started producing its own content in 2011, Netflix has sought out partnerships with a variety of established producers, writers, directors, and actors. Many of these professionals are well known and respected within their industry, but that clout doesn't always translate to audience interest or attention. The likes of Denzel Washington, Bong Joon-ho, Charlie Kaufman, and Steven Soderbergh have made movies for Netflix. Celebrities such as Will Smith and Charlize Theron have headlined major projects for the streamer as well. But even more so than film auteurs and action stars, Adam Sandler is a brand unto himself. Sandler has accumulated his fan base over the course of more than 30 years. The comedian first became a household name on Saturday Night Live, where he was a cast member from 1990 to 1995. In short order, SNL launched Sandler into a lucrative film career that began with 1995's Billy Madison and continues to this day with his Netflix deal.
You want a piece of me? I don't want a piece of you. I want the whole thing!
He's prolific with more than 80 credits to his name, and a few of his films are genuine classics. One could argue that no SNL alum has had Sandler's staying power. Stars like Eddie Murphy, Mike Myers, and Will Ferrell may have had higher highs, but they've all fallen off for long periods, and they've struggled to maintain their leading man status in more recent years. Sandler is remarkably hardworking and consistent, which is probably why Netflix was so eager to bring him into their fold and is so happy to keep him on board. Sandler is no doubt best known for portraying the doofus everyman. In truth, there's not much difference between Bobby Boucher and Hubie Dubois, and his fans are fine with that. Lowbrow comedies that are basically SNL-style sketches drawn out to 90-ish minutes account for the bulk of his resume. And when he's not affecting a goofy accent or involved in some form of hijinks, he often stars in more traditional romantic comedies or family movies like 50 First Dates, Click, and Pixels. But while Sandler continues to make his traditional comedy fare, he's also busy turning in praiseworthy performances in awards-caliber films. Many of these still qualify as comedies, though some are significantly more highbrow, not to mention dark. Sandler's first foray into serious acting came in Paul Thomas Anderson's 2002 dramedy Punch Drunk Love. That performance earned him a Golden Globe nomination. He received even more accolades for his role as Howard Ratner in 2019's Uncut Gems, though he was snubbed for a widely expected Oscar nod. Beyond those critically praised roles and over-the-top comedies, he's occasionally toned things down in his movies. This includes films for Netflix like 2017's The Meyerowitz Stories, New and Selected. Most recently, he co-produced and led the well-liked sports dramedy Hustle for the streamer, and again was a fixture on the awards circuit. In fact, in 2023, he was presented with the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. Netflix surely wants Sandler for his signature Happy Madison laugh riots, but it doesn't hurt that he can also deliver powerhouse performances in more grounded roles.
Hey, you love this game? I love this game. I live this game.
What does well in movie theaters has certainly changed since the early days of Adam Sandler's film career. In the 1990s, studio comedies regularly topped box office charts. Wayne's World, Pretty Woman, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, Sandler's own The Waterboy, and There's Something About Mary were all among the top 20 grossing films in the years of their releases. These days, it's unusual for a comedy of any sort to crack that ceiling. None managed it in 2022. The Julia Roberts and George Clooney-led throwback Ticket to Paradise was considered a triumph when it managed to break into the top 30. By and large, comedies live on streaming platforms now, and Netflix is an industry leader in premiering lighthearted, non-IP fare directly onto audiences' TVs. There are several reasons for this, and why Sandler movies in particular do so well as a result of this shift in viewing habits. Theatrical showtimes have been eaten up by sprawling franchises like the MCU and the Avatar series, in part because customers can justify paying for what feels like an event. There's no rush to see a comedy. They can't really be spoiled. The visual effects aren't usually central to the plot. And while laughing as part of a group can enhance the experience, that can still be accomplished with friends and family in a living room for the price of a monthly subscription. Sandler's comedies are plentiful and broadly appealing for those merely looking for something fun to watch on Netflix. Studio comedies disappeared from cinemas in part because all mid-budget movies seemed to vanish from the theatrical landscape. This occurred because big-budget franchise installments and low-budget horror flicks started to squeeze them out. Just last year, Top Gun: Maverick made nearly $1.5 billion on a $170 million budget, while the indie creepfest Skinamarink made about $2 million but cost only $15,000. As of late, a $40 or $50 million comedy anchored by a once bankable A-lister seems like a gamble, if not a losing bet. So slightly smaller-scale studio films have, on the whole, migrated to streaming. Netflix has signed several 9-digit multi-picture agreements. They've forked over about $450 million for just 2 of Rian Johnson's Knives Out sequels. so Sandler's original deal, which guaranteed him $250 million for 4 films, is a bargain by comparison. No details have been released about a new commitment between Sandler and Netflix, but comedies like his, with a price tag of roughly $60 million, have so far clocked in over 2 billion hours of viewing time. It must be a good return on CEO Ted Sarandos' investment. Even projects that utterly miss the mark, like 2015's spoof The Ridiculous Six, are still a low-risk, high-reward proposition for both Netflix and for Sandler's Happy Madison production company.
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
Moviegoers may have noticed that the length of movies has been inching ever upward, especially in the last few years. Not that long ago, a 3-hour-plus runtime was extremely unusual, reserved only for the occasional high fantasy or historical epic. But last year, RRR, Babylon, and Avatar: The Way of Water all surpassed the 180-minute mark. Many more, including Steven Spielberg's autobiographical family drama The Fabelmans and biopics Blonde and Elvis, hovered around 2.5 hours in length. And Netflix's own The Irishman is a whopping 209 minutes long. That can be daunting. There's no question that patrons want to get their money's worth out of a ticket, but there's a limit to audiences' free time and attention span. Home viewing makes snacks and bathroom breaks a little easier, but still, when subscribers are browsing for something to watch, there's less of a barrier when the runtime is cut in half. Sandler's trademark comedies tend to fall somewhere between the 90 and 120-minute mark. On the shorter end, the murder mystery movies are a mere 97 minutes and 90 minutes. Hubie Halloween goes a breezy 103, and the rest, The Ridiculous Six, The Do-Over, The Week Of, The Meyerowitz Stories, and Hustle all come in under 2 hours. That means even if home viewers aren't thrilled with their choice, it won't be a slog to get through. And if you've wasted most of your night indecisively scrolling through Netflix's infinite content lineup, there's probably still time to fit in an Adam Sandler movie. Just as consumers' habits have evolved at the movie theater, they've also evolved at home, too. In the last year, streaming has surpassed cable as the way most customers watch content. One consequence of this significant paradigm shift is that people no longer flip through channels to find something to watch, nor do they leave whatever happens to be on the TV as background noise. These days, many viewers seek out specific titles, particularly on the day of a new streaming release. However, subscribers don't always want to be so intentional. Subscribers still use their TVs the way they always have, as a means to chill out. Netflix has plenty of artistically ambitious and thought-provoking original films to choose from. Beasts of the Southern Wild, Roma, and All Quiet on the Western Front are just a few. But viewers aren't always in the mood for something that requires them to put down their phones and stay engaged, and definitely not something that's academically or emotionally challenging. Sometimes audiences want a movie they can tune in and out of. Though the streamer has been desperate to win a Best Picture Oscar and improve its critical reputation, Netflix's customers love the platform because of its accessible, bingeable, low-effort properties. Most Sandler comedies fit that bill. Even the more tightly plotted Murder Mystery 2 doesn't require the brain power of Glass Onion. When it comes to how subscribers commonly use the service, Sandler and Netflix's laid-back hangout vibes are a perfect match for each other. The entertainment industry isn't as star-driven as it once was, but audiences still like to see their favorites on screen. It's even better when they're paired up together. If his friends and coworkers are to be believed, Sandler is one of the most humble and down-to-earth celebrities working today. Because he's easy to work with, other big-name actors and directors are happy to get involved in whatever he's got going on. Sandler regulars like David Spade and Kevin James tend to pop up in most of his projects, which is a clear indicator of how much he inspires loyalty. But he also brings along old pals like Jennifer Aniston and Chris Rock. Celebrated directors and producers have conceived films with the comedian in mind too, which is a luxury not many actors enjoy. Paul Thomas Anderson considered himself an obsessive Sandler fan, and so he challenged himself to make an art house version of a Sandler comedy with Punch Drunk Love. Though it's not currently on Netflix in the United States, the connection between the director and actor that developed because of that film gave Sandler some impressive indie cred. Later, Sandler teamed up with writer-director Noah Baumbach for Netflix's The Meyerowitz Stories, which co-stars Ben Stiller as his brother. Then, in 2022, Sandler got some of the best reviews of his career for Netflix's Hustle. He co-produced a basketball dramedy with LeBron James. In the end, millions of Adam Sandler fans seek out his movies on Netflix. But because he has such a variety of famous co-stars and collaborators, their fans end up seeking out his movies as well. Despite his intermittent critical acclaim and the fleeting brilliance of ideas like the Hanukkah song, Adam Sandler probably doesn't come to mind when film buffs think about the world's best actors. And that's part of his appeal. He's the type of performer who understands his strengths and understands exactly how to push himself when he chooses to. Where Sandler has truly excelled in his 30-plus year career is as a producer. Not only has he figured out a filmmaking formula that's practically market and critic-proof, but he's actually ahead of the curve when it comes to trends. He's proven himself extremely savvy about the types of movies he makes and when he releases them. A perfect example is when the first murder mystery dropped on Netflix roughly 6 months before Knives Out. He released the entertaining whodunit at exactly the right time before the much bigger movie premiered in theaters. He also headlined the emotional Noah Baumbach family drama The Meyerowitz Stories 2 years before Adam Driver did the same in Marriage Story. And he released his well-regarded sports movie Hustle before 2023's Air, Champions, and Challengers. He diversifies his portfolio more than it might seem. Sandler has lent his voice to animated movies like the Hotel Transylvania franchise, and he had the business acumen to make one of his many broad-appeal comedies, Hubie Halloween, a holiday offering. It practically assures repeat yearly viewing as a result. The unassuming actor, writer, and producer continues to conquer streaming because he grasps how best to reach and grow his audience using Netflix.